You can't ever answer with a yes or no. Just say yes. They're not there, man. No one gives a shit what George Bush or McCain or Dick Cheney thinks. Again, if we lose this election, you know who to blame. I'm not blaming Republicans for this one. Here's Kamala Harris down there by the wall, which she's in favor of. And then here's Donald Trump being a stupid, stinky minimum wage worker who we hate. This is what you get!
Vaush is completely freaking out. And as the election ticks closer and closer, he just seems to be getting worse and worse. It seems like every time Kamala Harris opens her mouth, Vaush just completely loses his mind. But honestly, who could blame him? She just seems to put her foot in her mouth over and over. And while some of you might be into that sort of thing, she just seems to never actually answer the question that she's asked. It's like the only thing she has ingrained in her head is to filibuster everything. It's almost like she's just trying to run out the clock so she could get off stage. And let's just say the CNN town hall the other night was really just more of the same routine. And Vaush is getting sick of it.
Look, I've only seen one clip from the town hall, and it gave me this vibe. From the Kamala's Wins Harris account. Breaking, these two photos tell you everything you need to know about who is serious about leading our country. Here's Kamala Harris down there by the wall, which she's in favor of. And then here's Donald Trump being a stupid, stinky minimum wage worker who we hate.
For weeks, you have been calling Donald Trump unstable, unhinged. You've called him dangerous. You've quoted General Milley recently, who called him a fascist. Today, you quoted General Kelly, who said that Trump repeatedly praised Hitler.
Milley, Kelly.
But there are tens of millions of Americans right now who have heard all those things, and they don't buy it, or even if they do, they're still going to vote for Donald Trump. He's arguably more popular now than ever. You have 13 days to go. What do you say to those voters to convince them? Because some of them are in this room.
Yes, I do believe that Donald Trump is unstable, increasingly unstable, and unfit to serve. And I don't necessarily think that everyone has heard what you and I have heard repeatedly, which is the people who know Donald Trump best, the people who worked with him in the White House, in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, all Republicans, by the way, who served in his administration, his former chief of staff, his national security advisor, former secretaries of defense, and his vice president have all called him unfit and dangerous. They have said explicitly he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. They have said he should never again serve as president of the United States. We know that is why Mike Pence is not running with him again, why the job was empty. And then today we learned that John Kelly, a four-star Marine general, who was his longest-serving chief of staff,
misspoke,
gave an interview recently in the last 2 weeks of this election, talking about how dangerous Donald Trump is.
You've quoted General Milley calling Donald Trump a fascist. You yourself have not used that word to describe him. Let me ask you tonight, do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be...
And again, like, I know that threading the needle on this messaging is a little bit more difficult, but it's not just Trump that is a fascist, right? He's incidentally a fascist, sure. The entire GOP is behind this. This is not just one guy. So, like, this is like 6 minutes so far where the argument for him being a fascist is all of the powerful people around him, all of the technocrats around him don't, like, trust or like him anymore. Not talking about his policy or his messaging. Why not his promise to deport 20 million immigrants, which could, like, literally tear the country apart? Why not, like, him going after his enemies? Why not him constantly threatening to arrest or imprison, or like arrest, imprison, attack everyone who disagrees with him? Like, it's just, if people were concerned with the legitimacy of institutions, they wouldn't be on the fence right now already.
Yeah, I mean, like, Vaush is honestly making a fair point. All these people that keep being quoted are literally lifetime establishment shills that nobody respects, Democrat or Republican. If anything, quoting these people and saying they agree with you just makes you and your argument look bad. It does nothing to serve your goals of gaining votes.
Even just this week, I traveled this state and others with Liz Cheney, former Congress member who was a very high-ranking Republican. She has endorsed me. Her father, the former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, is voting for me. Over 400 previous members of the administration, from Ronald Reagan to both Presidents Bush to Donald Trump.
Again, like, who the f is this for? You have drank the Kool-Aid. You have, like, imagined your own... You've bought into your own propaganda, the idea that there's this noble, like, neocon old GOP lurking underneath the current MAGA one that can be appealed to with some you know, good sense and reason. It's not, they're not there, man. No one gives a shit what George Bush or McCain or Dick Cheney thinks.
Vaush is actually spitting some facts right here. The old Republican Party is dead. And these people's endorsements are literally trash that exactly 0 voters care about, and honestly, won't move the needle at all. In fact, if anything, I would say that it will actually make your own party respect you even less for holding these people up like it's a trophy or something.
Worse example than Dick Cheney, because I can't think of a single good idea that Dick Cheney's ever had. So what are we going to debate with them? Should we invade Iraq or Iran? Is that a debate?
You talk about going after price gougers, and I'm quoting from the plan, on essential goods during emergencies or times of crisis. I get that. How does that help, though, someone like Eric with prices that for years the grocery prices just been high?
Well, first of all, Anderson, as you know...
I'm pretty sure that grocery prices aren't even that high relative to the median income anyway. Like, they're not that different from what they were. We just got used to, like, the decline in cost that we got after the 2008 housing crash. Now they are. I'm pretty sure I've seen that, like, relative to the average income, there hasn't been that much variability. Kroger literally came out and said they are. Where'd you hear that from? Me? When was the last time you were at the store? Oh, thank you, chat. Thank you. Very good faith. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate that. What do you think? I have a fucking man-slave who does my grocery purchasing for me? Vaush made a point that contradicts the established narrative that I hear from Twitter. He must have slaves getting his food from... Come on. A lot of foods have doubled or tripled in price. You're all gonna... You're gonna get me. Kroger executives admitted to price gouging during the pandemic. I know. You can find out more about this on the channel Vaush. What do you like? Do you say anything mildly contradictory, and anywhere like people are like, "Oh, you don't even know about Thing," and they learned about Thing from you. What the fuck is Vaush on about? Average grocery prices are up because of corporate mergers and late-stage capitalism. Where the fuck is this denial and stop whining about it attitude coming from? I have to say, you guys really are lucky, because I feel like I'm the only one who can hand this down to you. You know what I mean? Because I know for a fact that, like, any other leftist commenter in my position, like, this wouldn't be an issue worth pointing on. But, like, yeah, a lot of the grocery bill bullshit that you hear is, like, fake. And you are subject to personal bias. You are. I'm just not here to, like, don't fall for right-wing narratives just because they align with, like, your preconceived biases, you know? Yeah, grocery prices have gone up. It's not really because of anything that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris did. And even then, they haven't gone up, like, massively.
Don't buy into Republican talking points. Bro, it's not a talking point. Your audience has to deal with this every time they go to the grocery store. It's one of the most obvious areas of inflation that people have to deal with on a daily basis. You are truly brain melted. Trying to refute everything that you see as a Republican talking point, even if it's just blatantly true. You know, I'm sorry you grew up in fucking Beverly Hills. You literally spawned in with the silver spoon in your mouth. And now that you're a successful streamer as well, you just are completely out of touch. And you always have been. The average person's problems are something just completely lost to you. And trying to argue against this with your stream is just some weird ego battle. And the only thing it does is prove that you are out of touch.
Hi, Carol. Thank
Good
you.
evening. Thank you for visiting us in Delaware County, Vice President Harris. My question is this. If you could accomplish only one major policy goal that required congressional action, what would it be?
That's actually a good question. I like that.
And why?
Well, there's not just one. I have to be honest with you, Carol. There's a lot of work that needs to happen, but I think that maybe part of this point that how I think about it is we've got to get past this era of politics and partisan politics.
Terrible answer from Kamala Harris, by the way. Remember, we are watching a town hall. She was asked, what's one thing you would pass with congressional approval? And she's giving like the standard stump speech. There's so much we have to do, but we're all going to have to work together, rather than like showing a bit of personality and committing to an issue that she's deeply passionate about. Like Trump would answer like the wall or the deportation or whatever. But she's like, well, I have a bunch of policies that I'd abstractly like to get passed through bipartisanship that won't happen. So none of these will actually happen. You know.
Yeah, honestly, it's pretty brutal that she could just never answer a question straight up. She could just never give her honest opinion on something. Like, oh, there's so many things I'd like to do, so I'm just gonna give you none of those reasons. And instead of just giving you one reason, since my Democrat think tank has told me that I need to give off the vibe that I'm actually gonna, bring some meaningful change to the American people, I'm just gonna give you some vague rambling of, oh, there's so much I want to do. Then pick one. God, this lady is just so unbearably fake. The Democrats really screwed the pooch by anointing this lady as the chosen one.
Considering you have been in the position of vice president for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, how can we expect you to deviate from the direction of that administration compared to your own? How can we differentiate your policy and your beliefs from that of Biden's?
That's a great question, and thank you. Well, first of all, my administration will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring to this role my own ideas and my own experience. I represent a new generation of leadership on a number of issues and believe that we have to actually take new approaches. For example, what we talked about in terms of housing. My experience that leads to that priority includes what I did to take on the big banks around the foreclosure crisis when I brought billions of dollars to homeowners that were the subject of predatory lending. I know what homeownership means to the American people, not to mention what it meant to my mother, who worked very hard and saved up so that by the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. I bring to it.
It's never like, you know what she can't be? A straight shooter. And that's the thing that bothers me. She can't say, I believe this, he believes that. It can never be that. It's always like, well, what's the difference between Joe Biden and I? Well, I've had a different life experience. Okay, in what way has that life experience led you to have different positions than him? Because just gesturing at different things you've done, everyone's done different things. Everyone's, like, in their life has gone through different paths. That doesn't mean you'd be different as a president. That just means that you're a different human being, which we already knew. You're a different human being.
Isn't it funny how quickly Vaush's energy around Kamala Harris has just completely collapsed? Who could have ever foresaw that Kamala would be such a disappointment to the Democratic Party? Oh, that's right. Just about everybody. You know, that's probably why she couldn't muster up the support of a single delegate in 2016, which is exactly why she dropped out so quickly. Tulsi Gabbard just actually destroyed her hopes and dreams. But even though this was just so easily predictable, Mr. Vaush was just a couple months ago jerking her off, saying that Republicans have nothing against her, like she's some hopeful candidate or something. Newsflash, she never was. Any support she has now is only because the Democratic establishment shoved her down the throat as the only option and said, you will like her or you will have Donald Trump. Everything about her is just completely manufactured, and that is including her support.
I want you to meet Jackson Weiss. He's a student at Drexel University from Flourtown, Pennsylvania, registered Republican, says he's leaning toward voting for you, but has yet to make up a final decision. Jackson.
Thank you, Anderson.
Hey, Jackson.
Thank you for taking the time to be here, too, Vice
You
President
too.
Harris.
Thank you.
Bring a jacket next
Regarding
time,
the
young man.
rapid increase in the migrant population, how will you ensure that every immigrant is integrated into American society safely? What benefits and subsidies will you provide them with? And how long will these benefits and subsidies last for an individual? Most importantly, will the American citizens' taxes pay for these benefits and subsidies? And if so, how much money will be allocated?
Yeah, this is like Hitler posting. Like, could you let us know how many accommodations you will provide to the Jew? Like, I'm being very uncharitable to this young man. He's probably like 5 years old. He showed up in his dad's shirt and tie. Maybe he's being like sincere here. It does sound very much like you're trying to put her in a position to either endorse deportations or say, yes, I want to spend $50 trillion giving every Mexican like a free car, you know?
Well, thank you,
I don't
Jackson.
know.
Let's start with this. America's immigration system is broken and it needs to be fixed. And it's been broken for a long time. And part of what we need to do is always prioritize what we need to do to strengthen our border. I will tell you, I'm the only person in this race among the two choices
Has gone after transnational criminal organizations.
Prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. As my opponent has proven himself, he would prefer to run on the problem instead of fix the problem. You may know there were some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress working with others that came up with a border security bill that would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border. Those border agents are overwhelmed. They need the support. They need the backup. It would have allowed us to have more resources.
It's so crazy for her to continue with this messaging even after like multiple groups representing Border Patrol and such saying like, F you, we want Trump, we want the Mexicans.
To stem the flow of fentanyl.
Oh yeah, also notice how she's not answering the question at all. Like even remotely. Like she's just doing the standard stump speech here. Like the question was, what will you do to help immigrants immigrate or like integrate into society? Not being answered.
Sheesh. You are more cynical about Kamala Harris than I am, dude. You are really not having a good time. And Vaush, like, what the hell was that response to the kid before he had even finished his question? Sounds like you really just didn't like the position that he was putting Kamala into, because you know any answer she could give won't make her look good. Well, newsflash, Vaush, like it or not, border security is one of the main points in politics that people on both sides actually respond to. It doesn't matter that you wish we just had some wide open border or something, because the American people clearly don't want that. Which is exactly why Kamala has done a 180 on this whole border wall shit. Because she knows, and her party knows, that if she just kept saying that, you know, exactly what she was a couple years ago, she would have no hopes of winning. Because far too many people actually care about the border and immigration.
Well, let's talk about this compromise bill that you want to pass if you're elected. You said that's going to be a priority. It includes $650 million in funding for the border wall. That's something Republicans wanted. That was part of the compromise. Under Donald Trump, you criticized the wall more than 50 times. You called it stupid, useless, and a medieval vanity project. Is a border wall stupid?
This is like straight up a Joker question. Like, I'm sorry, the question is correct. Just the answer, the only answer that she can provide. This is what you get! This is what you get when you mix a politician who disingenuously signals progressive immigrant rhetoric with a party and political climate that made them feel like they needed to move to the right in the subject.
Well, let's talk about Donald Trump and that border wall. So remember, Donald Trump said Mexico would pay for it? Come on, they didn't. How much of that?
Yeah, that was the problem with the border wall. That Mexico didn't pay for it. That's true.
Wall did he build? I think the last number I saw was about 2%. And then when it came for time for him to do a photo op, you know where he did it? In the part of the wall that President Obama built.
But you're agreeing.
That's man, shit, that Donald Trump, he sure didn't. He sure didn't do a good enough job building the wall. That idiot taking credit for Obama's section of the wall? That's true.
To a bill that would earmark $650 million to continue building that wall.
I pledge that I am going to bring forward that bipartisan bill to further strengthen and secure our border. Yes, I am. And I'm going to work across the aisle to pass a comprehensive bill that deals with a broken immigration system. I think Jackson's question, part of it was to acknowledge that America has always had migration, but there needs to be a legal process for it. People have to earn it. And that's the point that I think is the most important point that can be made, which is we need a president who is grounded in common sense and practical outcomes. Like, let's just fix this thing. Let's just fix it. Why is there any ideological perspective on this? Let's just fix the problem.
To fix the problem.
The problem, AKA immigration. Literally, like 2024 Democrats or 2016 Republicans. Literally, like Kamala Harris, how do you respond to accusations that you have completely flip-flopped on the viability of the border wall and on anti-immigrant policy in general? Well, you know, actually stemming the tide of immigrants that are bleeding into our country like a disease, it's a bipartisan problem.
So you don't think it's stupid anymore?
I think what he did and how he did it did not make much sense because he actually didn't do much of anything.
Oh my! Ooh. I think the problem with Trump's border wall is that his way of doing it was ineffective. My border wall was going to be much more effective. Again, if we lose this election, you know who to blame. I'm not blaming Republicans for this one. You know what they are. The disease is the disease. It's insane, man. Does she stand for literally anything? None of them do. Trump is Hitler. This is why my main problem with him is that he didn't build the gas chambers correctly. Literally, that's this town hall. That's this town hall. Yeah, I think Trump is a fascist, a deranged fascist. Yeah, I think that he's evil. But yeah, like, it's not ideology, right? You know, his anti-immigrant policies are just sensible. That's great, man.
Well, it is kind of funny how the Democrats have flipped hard on the border wall and immigration. And it's not because they're sincere and they've all of a sudden have a coming to light moment or something. It's because they know if they don't do that, they're up the creek without a paddle. The country, honestly, is just nowhere near as far left as you think it is, Vaush. And just because those college professors totally warped your brain doesn't mean the rest of the country thinks like that. This is only how terminally online lefties think, that honestly have no real grasp on reality and how things truly work. But apart from that, man, I suggest some breathing exercises. You're gonna have an aneurysm or something.
I want you to meet Pam Thistle. She's from Winmore, Pennsylvania. She's a realtor. She's a widow. Her husband, Mike, died just a year ago. She has two daughters in college. She registered with no party affiliation and says she's undecided. She has concerns about how you would handle the economy. Pam?
Thank you, and thank you, Anderson. And
a realtor who has concerns about how she would run the economy. Okay.
Happy belated birthday to.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and I'm really appreciative for you to be here and get to know you. When you talk about rich people paying their fair share,
oh my God,
can you be more specific?
I love how, like, the lazy stereotyping that I sometimes engage in along class lines almost always turns out to be accurate. It's because it's like, from our perspective, from the top down, from like the golden, like, ivory tower of, you know, critical theory and Marxist, you know, historical materialism. It's like, oh, well, obviously she's going to ask, you know, about whether or not she should really have to pay like 36% marginal income upper tax on the $650,000 she makes doing realtor work. On the ground, I feel like it might be like a magic trick, but like, it's just so consistently true.
Income taxes are already on a graduated scale, where the more you make, the higher percentage you pay in taxes. So the rich are paying a disproportionate amount in taxes as it is. Over 40% of Americans don't pay any income taxes. Also, the
poor.
really high earners may move their money offshore if there are disincentives in the U.S. This could
that should be like hiding tax money from the IRS is illegal. There are loopholes. They should be closed.
impact the economy. I would like to hear more nuts and bolts about your economic plans.
Sure. Thank you, Pam. So first of all, Donald Trump, when he was president, gave tax cuts to the richest, to billionaires and big corporations, which added trillions of dollars to our deficit. So that sadly needs to be said in a way that should be obvious to your point, but is not given what he did. Now, in terms of what we need to do to bring down taxes, I have pledged and have a plan for a middle-class tax cut that would affect 100 million Americans, including, for example, what we will do around small businesses. In terms of tax deductions, in terms of what small businesses are now being mired in terms of a bureaucracy around they have to fill out and do their taxes in a way that actually holds them back.
So you're saying, well, what you're saying is anyone under 400,000 won't have taxes raised. Or are you saying that anyone above 400,000 will have a tax raise?
I'm saying that there is going to be
that would be the natural like corollary to that statement.
A parity around what the richest people pay in terms of their taxes.
Why can't you ever just answer something directly, dude? The fact that you want to raise taxes for people making 400K or more is well known. It's on your website. Just say it. You can't ever answer with a yes or no. Just say yes. Yes, you will pay more in taxes if you're making like $500,000 a year. Just say it.
Vaush just absolutely seethes every time he hears a reference to the words tax cut. It, for some reason, just makes his blood boil as the delusional commie he is. But also, true, Kamala needs to answer the damn question. She's just too afraid to say something that people might not like. So she just effectively says nothing. Her internal polling must just not be that good, because every time she speaks, you could just tell that she's walking on eggshells, trying to prevent herself from saying something that will churn voters away. But all while doing that, she says nothing that will draw voters to her. And I gotta say, it's just actually so annoying to listen to. So I kind of get Vaush's frustration, to be honest.
So welcome to Delco.
Thank you.
Here in Delco, we pride ourselves on being authentic.
Yeah.
And much of what you've been saying with regard to issues like law and order and fracking reflect a more centrist view than what people are used to hearing from Kamala Harris, leaving some voters to wonder about the authenticity of your current, more moderate positions.
She got clocked.
Can you talk a little bit about how your positions have shifted and why?
Sure, and thank you. So first of all, on fracking, I've been very clear. We kind of dispensed with this in 2020. I am not going to ban fracking. I did not as vice president. In fact, as vice president, I cast the tie-breaking vote that now has opened up more fracking leases. My value on the issue of what we need to do to invest in a clean energy economy and a clean energy future has not changed. But frankly, I now have the experience and perspective of having been vice president for almost 4 years. I've traveled the country. I know that we can invest in a clean energy economy and still not ban fracking and still work toward what we need to do to create more jobs and create U.S.-based jobs in a way that will be globally competitive. On the issue of law and order, as you mentioned...
I mean, again, like, we know the answer. She can't admit this one because it would sound bad, but, like, she changed her position because she was lying. She was either disingenuously progressive then and has had to moderate to be VP, or she was being authentic back then and was, like, made to be moderate in order to be VP. That's it.
I think there's just a whole lot of misinformation, to be honest with you. I have personally prosecuted very serious crime.
Okay.
It's how I started my career. I spent most of my career as a prosecutor.
She needs the PA voters. That shit is such a scam, dude. You know that transitioning to green energy would bring way, way, way more jobs?
The spirit of your question is really important, and I'm glad you raised it. Our country deserves to have a president of the United States who is not afraid of good ideas and does not stand on pride.
So this like little canned speech bit of hers is just her saying, like, I will flip-flop and you will get used to it. Oh, me like disingenuously supporting ending fracking, Green New Deal, Medicare for all before and now not doing it. That's me not being afraid of good ideas because I'm not prideful. I'm not prideful. I'll change my position to whatever the lobbyists tell me to believe.
And just finally on fracking, you said you're clear you would not ban it as president.
No, I would not ban it as president.
Right, I know you're clear on that. Do you think it is bad for the environment, though?
I think that we have proven that we can invest in a clean energy economy.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
We can mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. We can work on and sustaining what we need to do to protect this beautiful earth of ours.
I feel like he could literally say, ExxonMobil has accused you of believing climate change is real. Do you believe climate change is real? And she would go like, I'm not afraid of good ideas. When I was a small child, I was raised by a mother. My mother was also not afraid of good ideas. I am the only candidate to have prosecuted transnational criminal organizations. I'm not allergic to good ideas. Me shifting to the right consistently on every issue. There are no issues in which I've shifted to the left. Me shifting to the right on every single issue that you can think of. I've been taught there are good ideas. I just want good.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. Kamala Harris is a massive flip-flopping liar. There's really no other way of looking at that. She changes her opinion when it's politically convenient to her. That's literally it. It's just literally that simple. She will assume whatever clothing she has to in order to move up and to place herself a bit higher in the establishment. None of it is ever genuine. It's all a farce. 100% of the time, it's just some focus group trash. And Vaush, buddy, have you ever wondered why Democrats keep shifting so many things to the right? It's not because they're just trying to piss you off or something. It's because they only care about power. It's not because they've all of a sudden had some coming to light moment and they actually care about these values now. They realize that lefty policies are not nearly as popular as you think they are. And you only think differently because you live inside a terminally online bubble that you kind of created for yourself. And anything with the slightest bit of opposing ideas, you scream fascism and Hitler and whatever other old nonsense talking point. It's completely stale. Nobody is buying this anymore, dude. Your snap twos are like stuck in 2016. Sorry, bud.
It's so frustrating. I hate liberals, man. I really do. I hate them because they're closer than they could be, you know? If they were just Republicans, and it's like, okay, so they hate me. All right, fine, you know? But then it's like you have liberals who are like constantly self-sabotaging. It's just so frustrating. Republicans do also some self-sabotage, just not in these ways. If you were going to ask her a question in this town hall, what would you ask? I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to be there because I know she can't provide me an answer. Like me, I could do two things. I could ask a real question she won't give an answer to, or I could ask like a puff piece question that she won't give an answer to. It's not like a legitimate format. I would be very interested in asking Donald Trump questions at a town hall because he's nowhere near as coached as she is. I'd ask about Epstein. Absolutely, I'd ask about Epstein. 100%.
At least he's right about that one. It really doesn't matter if you're given the chance to ask Kamala a question, because there's one thing you could guarantee. She's never gonna give you a satisfactory answer. She's actually just completely incapable of doing it. She has been coached by her handlers and these test group answers for far too long and far too hard. And she completely refuses to deviate from what she's been told to say, even if that makes her end up giving an answer that has literally nothing to do with the questions she's been asked, over and over. Sheesh. Vaush is really having a bad time. Maybe he should just go consume some more horse lolly smut and end up easing his pent-up frustrations a little bit. Freak. Anyway, guys, I said my bit. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you did, hit that like button and subscribe. And if you want to watch more content like this, YouTube thinks you're gonna like this video right here. Peace.